two new players or two more players who hopefully going to sign deals over the next couple of weeks, months. James Garner, Vitaly Mykolenko. I like to speak about James Garner, to be honest, Joe. I think he's been speaking about his versatility and his positioning and his England aims and stuff like that. So I've just got a quote here which I'll read out. So he says, "I am very versatile. I can play pretty much every single position. I have played pretty much every single position for this club apart from striker and centre-back. That could definitely play in my favour in terms of how we can get into the England squad." He says, "Ultimately for me, it's just keeping on playing consistently well, winning games on the weekend, and show them that I'm a natural winner and a half-decent player." I think after the Palace game, I was kind of pushing for James Garner to be moved to the right back. Now I know he's done really well in that central midfield role. He certainly started that off in pre-season. I think with Jake O'Brien, I mean, you can completely disagree with me. Like, I'm going to use the word struggling to an extent. I think he's done a fantastic job as a right back, but it maybe is showing now that he is clearly not a right back, and we've discussed this at length on the show, that James Garner is the club's most natural right full back in terms of from a versatility point of view. If you're going to put someone in there, you should immediately look to James Garner. Now I understand the argument, well, what about midfield? And I guess we can come on to that, but if James Garner was to break into the England squad, he's going to find it very tough to do that from a central midfield point of view, because there's so many people, so many players ahead of him. Does he not just need to kind of bite the bullet a little bit and think, if I want to play for England, right back could be the place where I hear me call up?
No, I actually think the opposite. I think that England squad has a few weak areas, but right back's probably one of the strongest it's got. I think it's got more depth at right back than it has in centre midfield, to be honest. And I think that James Garner is more at home in centre midfield than right back. I mean, what Thomas Tuchel doesn't have to do, that David Moyes does, is he doesn't have to put square pegs in round holes. And that's what we'd be doing with Garner at right back. I also agree that I think he would probably be the most effective right back at the club right now. But I think ultimately the long-term solution to that has to be to sign a proper right back at some point, at the earliest point in time available. Because the problem with taking James Garner out, and we've seen this in some of the more difficult performances Everton have had this season, but the minute you take him out of there, Everton don't have the strength and depth in the centre midfield to be able to cope with his loss. Obviously, Tim Robinham came on against Palace and did well, but he doesn't quite, I don't think, have I don't think he quite has the discipline yet to be a key, almost like a defensive midfielder. I think maybe if you were to play three centre midfielders and have him with Garner and Gay, and say he's got a bit of freedom to kind of range forward, and that then that might be a role that he could potentially do. So if Everton sacrificed number 10 and played free in centre mid, and almost had him as an 8, but yeah, I think Everton lose too much. We saw this at Leeds. We saw it quite notably against Leeds. We also saw it against Brighton, when, albeit that was a very good win for Everton and there were good moments in that game, they could very easily have lost that game. That Everton just don't have the depth to take him from centre midfield. And I think he's done well this season, Garner, and I think he's done really well when he's played in centre midfield. So I think England conversation is still a little bit premature, if I'm being perfectly honest, when you think that the some of the names he's being mentioned as that he would be competing against. I think that James Garner entered the summer with a few question marks over where he would be in the Everton squad. Obviously, no doubt he would be a value to Everton squad, but was he someone that Moyes could kind of name on his team sheet every week? Or was he a squad player that you use his versatility, or you have him coming off the bench? And I think he's answered some of that, because I think he's shown that he can definitely be a mainstay of an Everton first 11 and in his preferred position from what we've seen for the opening weeks this season. I think that it's quite exciting, the possibility of what he could go on to, because I think one of the things that he's struggled with in recent years is that he's been hampered by the complete lack of forward momentum from an Everton side. It's been route one and set pieces and nothing else. We saw that through ball that he played to Beto against Leicester back in February, and just how glorious, how inch perfect it was. I think there's a sense that he could do a lot more of that, and he's mentioned this season, since the season started himself, but the fact that now he's actually got runners around him, he's got players using the width of the pitch, he's got people that want to receive the ball to his feet or want to receive the ball to run on. Hopefully that means that now he'll be able to start finding them with some of that passing, and we can see him just really step up and come out of his shell a little bit. I think it's been a good start to the season for Garner. Expect Everton to try and tie him down to a new deal because he's in the last 12 months of his current one. And hopefully they're able to do that, and hopefully he can continue the trajectory that he's on. But I think that I think Everton need him at centre midfield right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not bashing his credentials and his his performances as a central midfielder so far this season. I'm not. I'm just thinking the fullback situation at this moment in time is, for me, the utmost priority to get right, and the answer is to go out and sign a right back. That is the answer. Unfortunately, we can't do that until January, and then even then, are we going to be able to get the player that we want in January? We don't just want a quick fix. We want effectively a Seamus Coleman-esque player to come in, and whether someone can do that. I'd slightly disagree in terms of the depth that we've got in midfield. I was just trying to write some names down there just to make sure that I can back my point up. I think all fit. Obviously, we've got Idrissa Gana-Gueye. We've got Maitland Roll. I know there's question marks over his fitness and injuries, but Moyes certainly likes him. You've got Tim Idaboumam, who had a really good cameo against Crystal Palace. Obviously, quality-wise, still think there's question marks over that. But I still think you can play Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall deep. I still think you can play an Alcaraz. Certainly is that number 10. And he, certainly against Palace, he was coming a lot deeper. Almost in like a quarterback role. I don't really like NFL, but using that term, and Beto definitely benefited from them balls into the channels and over the top. So I think in terms of now until January and January until the summer, I just worry for Jake O'Brien, and we do almost need a bit of a quick fix, and James Garner can certainly be that quick fix as long as we know the midfield can keep that depth and keep that quality in, as the players that I've mentioned there. In terms of England, I do think he's well behind the pecking order in that central midfield, and I do think he'll struggle behind the likes of Bellingham, Wharton. I mean, I know Palmer, Foden sometimes play on the wings, but they play in a central midfield. I mean, you've got like Rice, Rodgers, Henderson. They're all getting in ahead of him. So I just think, like, where can you see yourself, James, playing for England? Is it the right back? Is it the central midfield role? And we know that's where he wants to play. So it's tough. England are one of the top teams in the world right now. It's not like it was many years ago where anyone could get a game. So he's probably like not even in the top 10 in central midfield for me, and that's not a criticism of him. He's showing now that he can play in that central midfield role.